Would I be the asshole if I got help from a charity despite our joint income being very high? So my husband, 38 male, and I, 24 female, have a combined income of $60,000 per year, or thereabouts. He's the big earner at $50K, and I scrape by on a much lower income part-time job. He's always been very protective of his earnings, as he's worked very hard for the job he has. Since moving in together, we agreed to mostly keep our own expenses separate. If I buy things for the household like shopping or cleaning, bills, etc., we split them in half. If I go to the store, I give him the receipt, and he adds up how much of the items are shared and transfers me half. Anything we get for ourselves is paid out of our own accounts, any personal expenses, etc. He does, however, pay a much higher portion of the rent. This has worked fine for us. I do the majority of the housework to make up for not contributing as much, and because I have more free time around my job. The issue we have right now is that I'm pregnant. Because of our agreement, I'm expected to pay for anything medical, any bits I need for the duration of the pregnancy, or anything I will need post-birth for myself out of my own money. He will pay for half of anything directly relating to the baby, but everything else is my responsibility. I'm in a position now where I simply can't cover everything, and any conversation I have tried to have has ended up with the same outcome. I knew what the agreement was before we started trying. I genuinely thought that I would be able to cover a lot more, or that some of the things are more to do with the baby than me, so he would help. But he has very clear definitions of what is for me and what is for the baby. Thanks to insurance, a lot of medical bills are covered, but having to buy a whole new bigger wardrobe, and things I didn't originally think of that I need or will need, like breast pads, maternity pads for after the birth, etc., are adding up. There's a charity nearby which would help to supply some of these things, but I feel absolutely awful turning to them when I know that it would make such a small dent in my husband's wage, and he would be perfectly capable of covering it if he was inclined to. I just feel a bit desperate, but I'm completely torn up as to the ethics of it. So would I be the asshole for asking for some help from this charity? Personally, no, I don't think you'd be the asshole. If he's continuing to financially dominate you in the way that he is, and he doesn't see sense, and he doesn't see that, hey, it might be defined as a personal expense in your sense of the word, but I need this, the baby needs this. And if you're going to be such a hard ass about it that I need charity, then this is going to be a big problem. This is a two-way street. This isn't just his way or the highway. You're not the asshole for going to the charity, but this seems to be a much bigger problem. Now in the comments, your credit score 100 says, hold up, your husband doesn't think that he should help pay for the pregnancy? It's not like you just suddenly became pregnant on your own. He contributed just as much into making that child. He's just as responsible, and you need to hold him to that. You have to carry that baby in your body, and your body will handle the consequences, not his. But he still gets his child out of this. Not the asshole, but your husband should be helping you. Finances seem to be its own problem in your relationship too. I'm petty, so I want her to invoice him for 6,720 hours of gestating. It is for the baby after all. Say something like, I'm growing the baby's freaking ears over here. You can buy my pads for when I push it out. Imagine being such an asshole that you won't buy your wife postpartum pads. Your husband is abusing you financially. It's something that happens often in relationships with large age gaps. Leave home now and go somewhere safe. This right here, red flags. Responsible loving partners do not act like this. I'm legitimately worried for OP and her child. This man is unreasonable and selfish to the point of being dangerous. I sincerely hope that she leaves him and lets lawyers handle the dissolution of this horrible relationship. She and the baby deserve better than this. Not the asshole, but run girl, run. Holy crap, are you serious? The issue here isn't that you're thinking about going to a charity, the issue is that your current situation necessitates you considering going to a charity. Being pregnant isn't like adopting a puppy. This is his flesh and blood. The fact that he's pinching pennies when it comes to the care of his wife, who is carrying his child, makes him a massive tool. I don't care how much he worked for his job. He's going to be a father, and part of that is taking care of the mother of his child. If he's steadfastly against helping you, by all means go to the charity. Once your immediate needs are met, it's time for some couples therapy. This dude doesn't seem to understand how relationships work. I hesitate to see what kind of father he'll be. Jesus. Not the asshole at all. Not couples therapy, divorce. This guy is insanely selfish and abusive, and therapy won't touch either of those things. OP and her kid deserve a safer environment, stat. That was my first response too, but I've seen responses removed for immediately recommending divorce, so couples therapy, then, when that inevitably doesn't work, divorce. And now onto the update. So OP says, I'm sorry it's taken so long for an update, but I wanted to thank all the people who commented and sent links to helpful places. The short story is that I left. It has been very hard. I'm a single mother, and I'm completely cut off from my ex-husband. He does not pay any money to me or for my baby. I did what people here recommended, and I spoke to the people at the charity, and some of the women around town. They were all horrified by it, and I think that it was their reaction that made me properly realize I was not in a good position. They helped me leave, and find a shelter and a job. I'm able to stay until I have enough to rent a place of my own. One woman and her husband paid my medical bills, and I'm so eternally grateful to them. I will never be able to repay them. I made them my child's godparents. To answer some questions left over from my last post, I did not initially want to have a baby, but my ex-husband convinced me that it would be for the best. When I wrote the post, I was too far gone to change my mind, and I have no regrets now. My child is the light of my life. I do not have any family left. My parents died when I was young, and my grandparents on my mum's side raised me until they passed away when I was in my late teens. I had nobody to turn to or to help me until I reached out to the people in the town. I don't want to say any more because I don't want my ex to ever see this and find me. Thank you all again. Now in the comments, Parsnip9 says, I'm glad you were able to get help. Look up the Buy Nothing group for your area. It's basically neighbors giving away things they don't need anymore for free without any expectations of reciprocation, and you can post asking for anything you need. In my area, people are always giving away baby and kid stuff, clothes, furniture, food, etc. Buy Nothing groups are amazing and have been a true lifesaver for me. But since they operate as Facebook groups which anyone can join, and sometimes involve sharing an address, and at the very least, sharing which neighborhood you live in, OP should be very aware and be cautious about that if she wants to stay off her ex's radar. I'm so happy for you and your bub that you escaped into building a safe and happy future. Best of wishes to you, you brave soul and awesome mother. The original post is horrifying. I'm so glad that the OP got help and is doing better. However, OP, go after child support. You and your baby obviously need it, and he wanted this baby. Sending lots of good vibes your way. And to everyone bringing up OP suing for financial support for her and the baby, it might be best to reread the post. Nowhere in it does she say she divorced him. Her post sounds like she took off with the baby one day, which could explain why she's so concerned about her ex finding out where she is. While I do agree that you need to get alimony and child support from your ex, perhaps you should wait till you're more well established. It might not be the best strategy to file suit and show up living in a shelter with a baby, barely scraping by, especially if your husband left no evidence of his abuses. It's possible a judge could grant him custody just because he'd be more financially stable for the baby, even though he's a monster. So find work, be a good mum, find a nice good home, and when you're ready to take him to court, do so. Our next post is by user, Where Are the Avocados? Titled, Am I the asshole for not wanting to go on my family vacation to Jamaica if I have to share a room with my stepbrother? So hi guys, I am a 19 female, and my parents got divorced about 6 years ago. My dad remarried a new woman, and my siblings and I have only met her son, 16 male, 2 times, because he doesn't even live in the same state as us. The times that he came to town, he stayed in our house, and my dad said that we had to try to get to know him, to please his wife. Well, this kid is nice and all, but he's also kinda creepy and is not self-aware. He would come into my room unannounced, waking me up from naps, just to sit in my bed and talk. Or he would linger around my room, looking at all my stuff, just very intrusive, and it made me uncomfortable. One time he even showed me a TikTok about how in some states it's illegal to marry your step-sibling. And he never was like that with my sister, so that's why I started feeling uncomfortable. So my dad plans this family vacation to Jamaica for a week, and we go in the beginning of August. My sister and I were just made aware of the fact that my dad only got 2 rooms, which means that my sister, my brother, my stepbrother, and I would all be sharing a room. I freaked out and told my dad that this made me extremely uncomfortable. I don't sleep with a bra, and when I'm getting changed and picking out what to wear, I don't want him around. I also need my alone time every once in a while, and especially on trips. And I could hardly get that in my own house when he came to visit, so imagine if we're in the same room. My dad completely disregarded my feelings, saying things like, "There's nothing that can be done. Stay positive, it'll be fun. Siblings have to sleep together sometimes." He even said that he can't get a new room because they're too expensive, even though we're upper middle class and I know he can afford it. And he won't uninvite the kid, because he fears his crazy wife. He started telling my sister and I that we were ungrateful because we both said that we don't want to go if we have to share a room with him. The sad part is, I think he'd actually let us stay home and just take her son and my brother, instead of just fixing his mistake. So please let me know, am I the asshole, or would y'all react the same way? I don't think you're the asshole for this one. I think he's being unreasonable and he knows this, but instead of spending a bit more money and getting another room for you and your sister, he'd rather just double down on his idiocracy and make this your problem, or just not have you at the vacation at all. It would please his wife knowing that we saved money and we sorted this problem out, haha. I don't understand why he doesn't want to listen to his own daughter, and he prefers his own wife over that. That's a bit weird to me, but to each their own with these, not the asshole. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your dad shouldn't ask you to share a room with a teenage boy you barely know at all, let alone one who has made creepy comments to you. You're also an adult and don't have to go on a vacation abroad if you don't like the company. I'm wondering if the dad knows about the TikTok. OP, if he doesn't, he may think you just don't like the guy. If dad knows that stepbro told you it's okay to have a relationship, he may not feel like it's still siblings sleeping together. Dad has already dismissed her comfort. He'll probably dismiss that as a joke or a misunderstanding, which it may well be. It shouldn't matter though. She shouldn't be expected to share a room with a boy that she hardly knows, even if he's the nicest kid in the world. Not the asshole. You should trust your gut. If he makes you uncomfortable, you shouldn't have to share a room with him. As an adult, it's 100% your choice on whether you go or not. Maybe suggest a boys in one room / girls in another situation, rather than parents in one and kids in the other. Maybe frame it as wanting more girl time with your stepmother. Our martial arts instructor used the same thing. If there's something nagging at the back of your mind telling you that something's wrong, then something is wrong. Listen to your instincts, don't dismiss it, and don't let anybody else push it down for you. Stepbrother has told you that he expects your relationship to be physical. Re the TikTok. He's already targeted you. Don't let him be alone with you. You're an adult and just stay home and don't go. Not the asshole at all. Your concerns about changing, sleeping, privacy, etc. are valid. Your father's wife's son is practically a stranger to you. 4 teenagers, basically I know one is 12, should not share one room. It's a recipe for disaster. Even in the best of times, if you all were close and got along. Unless it's some kind of penthouse, it is simply not enough space. An easier solution for your father would be booking another room. But something tells me he won't do that. And Opie has their own comment further down and says, "Wow, I just got out of work and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of comments and support I'm getting from strangers on the internet. Thank you all so much. It makes me feel a lot better. I just wanted to address a few of the questions I'm seeing coming up. 1. I've not told my dad about the creepy stuff that my stepbrother has done that made me uncomfortable. I knew what his reaction would be at the time, so I just sucked it up, knowing that he'd be going back home soon. I'm assuming my dad would brush it off as, oh well, he's trying to get to know you, and not think it's a big deal. 2. I'm seeing a few comments asking why I don't just buy my own room. We're staying at a resort, so the rooms are quite pricey, especially for a full-time college student who only works weekends to pay for. I also feel as though I shouldn't be responsible for that, since my dad is the one who wants to go. If he really wants me to come, he would respect my feelings and make some sort of accommodation. He's the one who put us all in the same room together without even asking my sister and I if we'd be okay with that. And 3, I see a lot of you saying I'm an adult and cannot be forced to go. Well, unfortunately, I'm 19 and still forced to go back and forth between my mum and dad's house to visit him. He holds my college tuition over my head, so whenever I try and make big decisions like this, I usually end up having to back down. I'm gonna start showing my mum all these comments and hopefully she'll understand and we can try and go from there. Thanks so much again to all of you for your feedback and support. I'm gonna try and reply to your comments individually as well. Let me know if you have any more questions regarding the situation. Alright, and now on to the update. Hi guys, I made this post about 5 days ago, and I just had lunch with my dad today, and we talked about this, so I thought I'd give you guys an update. So my dad took me to lunch today so we could talk about stuff without his wife being around. He asked me how I was feeling about the vacation, and I again expressed how uncomfortable sharing a room with my stepbrother made me feel. He took it pretty well, he didn't yell or get mad at me, and he acknowledged my feelings pretty well, which is very rare for him from my experiences. Unfortunately, he told me there is literally nothing he can do. To upgrade rooms or even get a new one would be thousands of dollars, and my dad's very big on budgeting. I asked if we could split the rooms up by gender, and he said that that wasn't possible because one room has a king bed, and the other two has 2 queens, so it just wouldn't work. He also told me that we could bring a curtain and hang it up between the rooms we share. That way we still have some privacy. Lastly, he said that if my stepbrother makes any sort of creepy advances on me, I should tell him immediately and he will take care of it. This made me feel a little better, but I was still hesitant. He brought up how much he wanted me to go, how the thing he was looking forward to the most was going scuba diving with me, and how it wouldn't be the same if I wasn't there. I don't know if this is manipulation or if he really feels this way, because I really have my guard up with him. So in the end, I decided I'll still go on the trip. He gave me this long talk about forgiveness and how he had to forgive his dad for the bad stuff he did to him as well. I'm really bad at forgiving, and I'm the first to admit that I hold grudges. I just really want to try and be the bigger person in this situation, and I don't want my siblings to feel weird without me there. So I'm gonna go. I hope y'all are not disappointed. I know most of the comments were in support of me standing my ground and not going unless a change was made, but my dad acknowledged my feelings and did his best to understand and accommodate, I guess. And for now, that's good enough for me. Thanks to everyone again who commented in support of my last post. Your advice and everything else has helped a lot today. And edit, new info. Hey everyone. I want to start by saying thank you again to everyone who has left me support and advice through this situation. I also really appreciate everyone being honest with me in the comments. The reason I said I would go really just boils down to me wanting to connect with my dad. And even though now I realize he didn't acknowledge my feelings in the right way, in the moment my head was too clouded to realize. You all have made really great points and have helped me realize that my circumstances are still not okay. I'm going to have another talk with my dad, hopefully with my sister present and a counselor. We are not going to be going on the trip unless some sort of new sleeping arrangement is presented to us. You guys are all right. This is not a safe situation for any of my siblings or I, and I need to be the one to advocate for us all. Even if it was safe, which, who knows, maybe I'm overthinking and everything will be fine, the fact that we showed discomfort to the situation should be enough for change. Thank you for not sugarcoating anything and for talking some sense into me. I'm overwhelmed with all the support and PMs you guys are sending me. Thank you so much, and maybe there'll be another, better update in the future. Unfortunately, there isn't one just yet. Now in the comments, Shiv315 says, he gave me this long talk about forgiveness and how he had to forgive his dad for all the bad stuff he did to him as well. Yeah, nah, that kinda sounds manipulative. Please do not go. There's still a chance that you'll be in danger of getting assaulted from your stepbrother. Despite all of this, if you still decide to go, I would see about buying pepper spray or some other self-defense techniques. Better safe than sorry. Exactly. Why should OP have to ponder forgiveness? Why isn't Dad making the stepbrother ponder boundaries and basic decency? Way to prioritize budgeting over your daughter's safety. Agreed. It's pathetic how OP's dad handled the situation. There's no real change here. OP will still be in the same room as the stepbrother, with the only difference is a curtain present. It is still a dangerous situation. Quote, unfortunately that he has told me there's literally nothing he can do. Which is a straight up lie. There are thousands of things he can do, he just doesn't want to do any of the things. I can't honestly believe that, after hearing about what your stepbrother has already done, he's not willing to spend a few bucks on you to feel safe. He's still a grade A asshole. You definitely should not go. I no longer trust your father to keep you safe. If he makes a stink, just tell him, unfortunately there's nothing I can do. So mad for you. I'm also mad that you've been manipulated to a point where you can't advocate for yourself. Please, for your safety, do not let this be swept under the rug again. There's nothing he is willing to do to protect his daughter. He's an asshole. Am I the asshole for inviting my girlfriend on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? I make a lot more than her. Hello. My girlfriend, myself, my parents and my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 a year as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher, making $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we've been together. There were a few times on the vacation when she did not go on outings with us, like wine tastings, scuba diving, etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, simply stating that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, read expensive, places. My parents thought that it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although normally she eats 3. When we got home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't physically feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 out of 6 outings. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much, and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work out long-term if she's expected to go on vacations like that with people who make so much more than her. I feel bad that I didn't pick up on her discomfort sooner, but we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the asshole for not being more attuned to my girlfriend and not offering to help since my brother and I planned the outings and meal places. Yes, I do think you're the asshole for this one. I feel like you should have been more transparent with her about what was going to happen, where you were going to go, how much things were going to cost. That just seems like normal human decency, and now you're shaming her for not participating when she's made it clear that she can't afford it. That's not very nice of you, and I really think you should take a step back and look at yourself in the mirror and think, what have I done right in this situation? Because there seems to be a whole lot that you've done wrong from my perspective, so I'm going to say you're the asshole. Now in the comments, Sleepy Feline says, you're the asshole. You make 3 times what she does. You knew she had to take a second job to be able to go, you planned the holiday and the activities. She even said that while you were there, that she could only afford to eat 2 meals a day. Don't plan for your budget when you know she makes so much less than you. I think it's safe to say she didn't enjoy the holiday at all. She probably found it stressful to work out what she could afford and embarrassing to have to skip meals. And she probably couldn't even actually really afford whatever she did spend. She probably needs months to recover the savings. Absolutely, you're the asshole. She got a second job just to afford the trip. You probably could have saved her expenses in a few months, and instead, she had to skip meals just to spend time with your family. Do you expect her to do this for the rest of your lives? Also, 50-50 is only fair when both parties make roughly the same amount. It takes her nearly 3 years to make your yearly salary. I get that it's hard to sympathize when you were not able to experience this situation for yourself, but maybe try talking to her with an open mind and see if the situation actually works or if she's just trying to please you. 100% this. People who split things 50-50 when they don't have similar incomes have toxic relationships. OP either enjoys his power trip of being more wealthy than his girlfriend and not assisting her, or is so freaking out of touch that he doesn't even notice her suffering. Either way, major you're the asshole, and overall not great boyfriend behavior. My husband makes 4 times my salary. If we split things equally by money, I would be broke every day, and our lifestyle would be very limited. But since we are partners, we find it much healthier to contribute an equal percentage so that it's fair to the scale of our respective incomes. I'd rather be alone in my apartment doing nothing than in paradise with someone who apparently hates my frickin' guts. That is barely an exaggeration. You certainly don't love your partner if you can't even be bothered to notice their discomfort. I'm honestly disgusted by this. She doesn't need to leave because she can't afford trips. She needs to leave because her boyfriend wouldn't even spit on her body if she was on fire. My heart broke for this girl. Not only did she work extra jobs just to afford to go along, when she got there, much of what was offered was beyond her means. So much so that he could hear her stomach grumbling. And then he has the unmitigated gall to ask her about it on the idea that she might have a frickin' eating disorder? And he's afraid that he might not have been attuned to his girlfriend and her finances, because after all, they've agreed to split everything 50-50. You're the asshole doesn't begin to approach the depth of assholery going on here, not just from the OP, though he absolutely gets the lion's share, but also from the rest of his family. She needs to wipe her tears and kick this one to the curb to sit with the rest of the trash, and that's as civil as I can get. Am I the asshole for not letting the dog in bed? So my boyfriend and I got a dog together in April. He's a rescue, and we've been working together to raise this dog. I really hate when he lets the dog on the bed. I think it's dirty, and his butt touches the blankets and pillows, and it grosses me out. I want where I sleep to be the cleanest, safest place in the house. He gets mad at me and says the dog just wants to lay with us, and says, look, you're hurting his feelings. He loves us. Like, yeah, dude, I get that the dog loves us, I just don't want him in my bed. Or he'll argue, but the cats are allowed on the bed. And yeah, they are, but they aren't rude with their buttholes out in the open, resting them on my pillows. When my cat visits us in bed, it's mostly to climb on top of us to let us know it's time to wake up. Occasionally, my oldest will lay at the end of the bed at our feet and guard us. I never really was a dog person. I have several cats instead, but my boyfriend loves and has always loved dogs, so I thought getting this one would be awesome for him, and in a lot of ways, it has been. My cats have been getting along with him fine. He's really been easy to train so far, and it's just this bed issue that's been negative, but he's allowed on the couch and other furniture, and my boyfriend doesn't have a problem with the other places I keep him out of. The kitchen has a baby gate for the cats to have a safe zone. Also, don't need him getting into the litter boxes, and he rarely is allowed to go into the spare room that we keep our exotic pets in, just as a safety measure. He's far from neglected or starved for attention. He goes on at least 3 walks a day, and when we aren't running or walking, we're out playing in the yard. He gets cuddles and hugs in the yard or on the couch. It's not like he's at any deficit for attention, so I don't see why it's an argument that I don't want him in our bed, making it all gross. Am I the asshole? I think you are, yes, in this situation, unfortunately. Even though I personally agree with you, I think it is gross when dogs go on the bed and they get their butthole everywhere. I don't think cats are any better, in all honesty. I think you're just inclined to think that cats are cleaner and not as gross as dogs. This seems like you want your cake and to eat it too. You want the cats on the bed, but you don't want the dogs on the bed, whereas he wants everyone on the bed. And I don't think you're going to get that, in all honesty. I think you're being too hard with this issue. You either need to ban everything or allow everything. And the way you're approaching it right now makes me think that you're a bit of an arsehole. So yeah, you're the arsehole. Now in the comments, Trashman Joe says, "You're the arsehole. Your cats are not any cleaner than your dog. They stand and walk through their litter box. Their paws then touch your bed sheets. If you're going to ban the dog from the bed, choose a reason that's not hypocritical." Yes, and since when are cats much more polite with their buttholes than dogs? OP, where do you think the term CBF comes from? From someone who's had plenty of cat butt nonchalantly shoved in their face. That's where. You're the asshole. If you're serious about cleanliness, then you need to ban all the pets from the bed. You're the asshole for being a hypocrite. Your cats are no cleaner than a dog. You're not the asshole for not wanting the dog in the bed. I love my dog more than anything in this world, but she sleeps in her own bed, and it hasn't harmed our relationship. But as an animal lover who has also shared a house with many cats in my life, you're dreaming if you think cats are cleaner than your dog. No assholes here, but seriously, your cats are nowhere cleaner than the dogs. They poop in a box. They cover that poop. At some point, their paws are going to touch their feces and then touch your bed, whether that is just from overzealous covering of a fresh dude or jumping back in the box before it has been scooped. Or they'll lick their butthole and then lick their paws and the rest of their bodies, and those will touch your bed. So if the butt is really the only reason you don't want the dog on the bed, it really doesn't make sense since you're letting the cats on there. You can always wipe your dog's butt after they go potty, by the way. I keep baby wipes near my door, and everyone gets a quick booty cleanup and paw wipe down when they come in. Our next post is by user, "Am I the asshole babysitting fee?" Titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my mum's clients that if they're more than 10 minutes early or late dropping their kid off or picking them up, they'll be charged for babysitting?" So my mum tutors from our house. She told all of the parents that I babysit, and they've been really bad at picking their kids up on time. My mum has these classes, 6 students in the same grade at once, from 9:30 to 12:30, and from 1 to 4 a few days a week. Morning class is usually K, first grade or second grade, and afternoon class is older kids. Today, a parent dropped the kid off at 9, and since my mum was getting ready for the class and sanitizing her classroom, I had to keep her busy. Then another parent dropped their daughter off at 9:10. I told my mum I was going to tell the parents they'd be charged for babysitting if they dropped the kids off too early or are too late to pick them up, but I don't think she was listening. I have the contact info for every parent in the morning class because I've babysat their kids at some point, so I put them all in a group chat and said, "Good morning. Lately there's been an issue with parents dropping kids off early or picking their kids up late, and I have to stop whatever I'm doing to entertain them. From now on, if anyone drops their child off more than 10 minutes early or is more than 10 minutes late to pick them up, they will be charged $20 an hour for babysitting. Thank you and have a nice day." Most of the parents said something along the lines of, "Thank you for letting me know." But the parents that dropped their kids off early today sent my mum screenshots and said this was unreasonable because they already pay so much for these classes. My mum is mad at me for saying that to the parents and said that I'm asking for too much, so I wanted to know if I was the asshole. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your mother just assumed that you would volunteer your time and look after the early and late children? If she's unwilling to negotiate a babysitting deal with you to look after her students, then you are free to quote whatever rate you want. If she persists, then disappear before the next class and leave her to manage the kids. I agree with all of this. Honestly, Mum could just pay her for it if she doesn't want her clients to be bothered. $20 for her to watch them 30 minutes before and after seems like a pretty good deal. Imagine you run a business and have a list of clients, then one day your daughter who works with you gets upset about something. Rather than talk with you about it or sort out some kind of resolution and fix the issue, she instead messages all of your clients behind your back and starts implementing new policies and payment requirements. I'm not sure you'd be too pleased. Exactly this. Sure, mum shouldn't use her daughter to babysit unpaid, but this is something that the business owner, the mum, needs to deal with. You don't think she heard you? Maybe try again when you have her attention. Come up with a plan together. Don't go behind your mum's back and communicate with her clients. You could have marketed this as a new improvement where you now offer babysitting before and after at this rate. That way, no one would feel called out by your text, and you can make some extra money. Everyone sucks here. Not the asshole. Is everyone missing this line? Quote, I told my mum I was going to tell the parents they'd be charged for babysitting if they dropped the kids off too early or are too late to pick them up, but I don't think she was listening. She did tell her mum about it, and mum blew her off. Also, everyone equating this to being like a customer service job is comparing apples to coconuts. Retail jobs, even if the customers are being crappy to you, are paying you while on the clock. OP isn't getting paid, which is kind of the issue here. Her mum not listening isn't the same as blowing her off. She could have been busy or distracted or anything. I'm not sure why people aren't getting this. OP gives no indication she tried more than once to talk to her mum about this, and from the way she worded things, it sounds like her mum was occupied with something and not paying attention. Yeah, exactly. The judgments are so confusing to me. OP is definitely in the wrong here. Okay, even if she never talked to her mum, I still wouldn't label OP in the wrong. If people are expecting her to work, she can tell them her salary requirements. And Abba Zabba says, you're the asshole. You should have billed your mum directly for the time. Then if your mum wants to pass that expense on to her clients, that is her choice as the business operator. If you worked at a school or daycare and had to stay late because a parent was late, you would clock out later and those hours would reflect on your paycheck, which comes from the school and daycare. What you did is the equivalent of telling the late parent to hand you $20 from their wallet for being late. If your mum won't listen and refuses to pay you for watching her clients' kids, then don't. Leave the house. Go for a walk from 8:55 to 9:30 every morning. Go for another walk from 12:15 to 1 p.m. Just because she's your mum doesn't mean she can demand childcare for other people's kids for free. But still, you're the asshole for involving the clients in what should have been a dispute between you and your mum. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that our life is no vacation? So my girlfriend and I always dreamed of living off a van. A month ago, we finally fulfilled that dream after saving for a while by buying a caravan and adding all the stuff that we need to go off-grid. I work remotely, and that's working out quite nicely if I take the necessary precautions, like always checking for power and connection availability wherever we go, and seeing that I'm actually paying attention during work hours, which has been the biggest challenge honestly since everything else right now is more engaging. But by starting nice and early and reducing distractions, I manage. She doesn't have the luxury of a remote job, so the deal was she would work on herself while I work. She dreams of becoming an artist and illustrator, so there is quite a lot of material online to check out. First few weeks we were just getting used to it, but now that we're quite a while into this and things are going smoothly, I expect her to do her part, since I don't want her to just chill for the entirety of however long this will go. Plans are at least a year. Well, she doesn't. She is willing and always emphasizes, just after this I'll start. But it's not happening. She has a few things that are her comfort activities, like making jewelry and drawing the same style of painting, which both are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but she isn't learning anything new. I looked for really awesome tutorials online, got her a tablet and pen to make this as smooth as possible, and expect her to do like 20 minutes a day for a start. But she always resorts to her comfort activities, telling me, this is artsy too. Once I saw her do this when we actually just talked about this, and she was supposed to do a lesson of the tutorial. She got mad and stormed off. Not too far, as the caravan isn't that big. So I told her that whatever she plans on doing, she needs to get serious with something and can't just have a permanent vacation. Maybe I'm just jealous that she has this crazy opportunity where she can do whatever she wants and is wasting it. Maybe I should be fine with letting her do whatever, but I just feel like if I don't put some pressure on her, she adopts bad habits and wastes an amazing opportunity. Am I the asshole? I guess she just doesn't have the same perspective as you on this matter, and there's nothing particularly wrong with that. I get that it frustrates you, but you can't force people to change, and unfortunately you can't force people to do things, even though you think it's in their best interests, because some people just don't see it that way. I don't blame you for trying to push her to expand her horizons, but if you keep banging your head into this wall, it's only going to cause more upset between you and your girlfriend. And obviously she is in part to blame for this frustration that you're feeling because she said one thing and she's doing another. I think you guys are both to blame for this situation, so I'm going to say everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, Togar Sucks says, everyone sucks here. You guys planned a year off the grid with you fully funding the entire thing. There was an agreement that she works on herself and towards her goals while you pay for the experience. The problem is, the two of you had different expectations of what that meant. Yeah, she isn't progressing and becoming an artist, but unless you had established a specific timeline for things she would complete or achieve, you had to know that this was a likely possibility. And OP replies, I mean, I'm not about to write her a daily schedule. I wouldn't be qualified for that even if I wanted to. This is stuff she has to do herself, and yes, maybe my mistake was just to expect her to do that, and we should have been more clear with what exactly that entails. But here we are. Honestly, it sounds like she might be procrastinating. Not in the sense that she's lazy, but that she might not know where to start with her art. Or that she's scared of trying a course and realizing she isn't as good and doesn't enjoy it as much as she thought. Everyone sucks here. This is not well planned out, and there's nothing to enforce her to do what you want her to do. Better hope the year flies by so she can get back to work. Everyone sucks here. Y'all somehow managed to plan this out great, and crap at the same time. For her to work on herself is a weird goal, because who decides when she's worked on herself? Do you? Because that sounds unhealthy. You basically planned for you to be the one bringing in the money. I'm also identifying with her a bit. If someone is on my back, watching my every move, making sure I am doing something, you promised to do the thing, do it now, why aren't you doing it? I become less capable of doing it. I need my space, and if I get that, I'll work harder and better than anyone else could coach me. Thing is, in a van, you are always on each other's backs. Creativity is very fragile and vulnerable to some. You trying something new may be something you do not want to share immediately. Having your partner hovering around checking on you may actually be keeping her from developing. And OP replies, I'm very afraid of the second paragraph being true. That's why I try to do as little as I can to not be intrusive. I do have a background in graphic design, so I could have some helpful tips for her, but maybe I should wait for her to ask. And you're totally right with the go get creative now thing. I hate that too. Maybe I should get her back for a while and reevaluate later. I think your background in graphic design is coloring how you view her activities and her efforts. You look for tutorials online. You bought her a tablet and stylus, but she clearly doesn't want that. She draws and paints. She's right. That is artsy too. It sounds like what you're asking her to do isn't work on her art. It's asking her to change her style and do a different kind of art, and that's a whole different ballgame. I'm going with you're the asshole. This sounds like you told her she could take off to focus on her art, but now you're upset because she's focusing on a different type of art than you want her to do. She's being active and actually making jewelry and painting, which she might actually be able to theoretically sell, and you're upset that she isn't on the computer doing tutorials instead. I think there was probably a lack of communication before this all started. You just had different ideas about what working on her art would mean. Am I the arsehole for not financially helping family and friends despite being able to? So my son Nick was born with a congenital heart defect 17 years ago. It required a $60,000 surgery in Israel if he was to survive past 12 months. I've spent the first 3 months of his life running around, begging people, and searching for money. My parents gave us $100. They had well-paying jobs and guaranteed state pensions. When I asked my brother for help, he mumbled something about needing to save for his daughter's college. She never went, by the way. Anyone who met her could have told him that much. They did take regular vacations overseas, though. And my department of 40 at work donated $30 and a card. At one point, I was seriously searching for ways to sell my kidney and liver. My in-laws sold their apartment for $35,000. Best friend gave me another $7,000, which was all he had. Accepting his help was one of the few times I cried in my adult life. I sold my car and every piece of furniture and electronics that wasn't bolted to the walls. My in-laws moved in, and we've spent the next 5 years living together. 5 people crammed into a 2-bedroom. Surgery was a success. As fate had it, I started a hustle and it took off. After years of hard work, I moved our HQ to a Central European country to be closer to our EU clients. Even discounting for about 2/3 of my wealth that is tied up in the business, I am a multi-millionaire. My in-laws now have a 4-bedroom house. We pay for them to go on vacations 3 to 4 times a year, or we did before 2020. My son is a hard worker who makes me a very proud father. I can't say that I hate those who didn't help back in the day. Hate is a strong word. Rather, I feel like I've learned my lesson and don't expect anything from them. I don't invite my parents for visits, as they are welcome to pay for their flights and a hotel room, but I won't cover their expenses like I do with the in-laws. My brother asked for a loan to start his business 5 years ago. I said the time wasn't right. 2 months ago, his daughter got into a car accident drunk driving. Nothing seemingly life-threatening, but a lot of scarring on her legs that requires a costly cosmetic surgery. I suggested he looks into downsizing, as I'm focused on helping my kids get good education. Old co-workers who wanted to join my business once it took off were told to apply through the regular process. Except for my best friend. He's been my partner from the start, and I sleep better at night knowing we've got each other's backs. It comes without saying that there's been lots of very unhappy people in my life. In our culture, you're expected to support your community and family, do favors. Nepotism is very much an ingrained thing. You're supposed to bring over your family if you're lucky enough to root yourself in the Western world, help friends immigrate, etc. My parents told me to my face they are ashamed of me and how the Western culture has changed me. I've been called many things, way worse than asshole and heartless. And after hearing my story, tell me Reddit, am I though? Personally, no, I don't think you're an asshole for that one. I think that you've made choices and you weren't helped in your time of need. Why should you give back to these people? I don't feel like any of them are deserving of your help. Years of complaining and cultural conflict from them would really start to piss me off if this continued to come to my face and they continued to assault me with it. This is just one of those situations where it's very easy for you to go no contact if you want to, and I wouldn't blame you if you did. But for the meantime, not the arsehole. Now in the comments, Sad Responsibility 9 says, not the arsehole. Your in-laws sold their $35,000 house to help you. Your best friend gave you all he had to help your son. Nobody else helped you, or even pretended to help you and your son. Your in-laws deserve everything you're giving to them because they were one of the only people there for you in your absolute lowest. You were going to sell your kidney for your son because nobody else helped you. Having your old co-workers who did not help you beg to get into your business don't deserve it. And not only that, but it's 100% fair that they are to apply just as anyone else. Your parents are just angry at you for not sharing your success. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. That goes for you and your son in relation to the rest of family. Not the asshole, but your parents and old co-workers certainly are. And OP replies, this is probably the first time the can't handle me at my worst phrase made any sense to me. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. Info. Have you told your parents why you aren't helping them and the rest of your family and friends? Did you explain to them that it's because they didn't help you when you needed their help? That it wasn't Western culture that changed you, but the fact that they couldn't be moved to help you at all when you needed it and they could afford it? I'm Indian, and I understand your culture. Not fully, but enough. I understand why you're expected to help your family and friends, and why your parents thought the surgery might not be worth it if the chance for success were 40%. But only $100 when they could afford more? And it's not just that they didn't help you for the surgery, but did they help afterwards? After it was clear that the surgery had worked, they could have given you the money to buy a car, food, etc. The fact that they didn't help had to be a huge letdown. I'm glad you're still cordial with your family and friends, but maybe if you try to explain your point of view, they'll better understand where you're coming from. And OP replies, I'm leaning towards having a more open conversation. I just don't yet see when and how to start it. Maybe it will come. Perhaps next time they complain about me not doing enough, I can ask if they truly don't understand why I've changed. I don't need some grand closure or to hurt them, but some clarity may help us finally turn that page. Why don't you tell your parents to try for a new son then? Maybe he'll get rich too, and then can bring them over. Also, if they don't like how westernized you've become, there's only a 40% chance they'll like it in the West if you bring them all over. Best not to try at all. As for your old colleagues, beware the toes you tread on today. They may be attached to the assets you need to kiss tomorrow. And Pumpernickelbrot says, not the asshole. In our culture, you're expected to support the community. But they didn't support you when it was a literal life and death situation for your son. You don't owe them anything. Good for you that everything went so well in your life. Keep supporting those that supported you, like your in-laws and best friend. Not the asshole. They're not obligated to help you, and you're not obligated to help them, so don't help them. But your parents' comment about let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby. Like, what the hell do they smoke? Who tells that to anyone? They essentially told you to let your son die and provide them with another grandchild. Should have gone no contact then and there. Nobody needs such people in their lives. And OP replies, it's very hard to explain this, but it's truly not as horrific as it sounds for people raised and living in that culture. I don't know how to get it across in a just manner. The only very weird analogy that comes to mind is how bone marrow jello is a delicacy in some countries that is served during holidays. And in our culture, people would have a complete WTF moment if they are told that this is food. And back to the post, OP leaves 2 edits and says, edit, to those wondering why my parents had a pretty lukewarm response, if you can even call it that, the surgery had a 40% success rate. They thought we should let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby. It may sound horrendous to Westerners, but it's not that cold of a statement to someone in our home country. But obviously, wife and I didn't take it well. And edit 2, user Highway Girl 2004, I will talk to my wife about helping our niece. I stand by what I said. It's on her for putting herself in that position and her parents to help her fix it. So I won't cover the whole cost, but I will ask my wife if we should cover half. The more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards this being the right answer. And now on to the update. So it's been a couple months. I've learnt my lesson not to ask 17-year-old kids on Reddit questions about real life, and I've made some decisions. First, a lot of you did make valid suggestions that I took to heart. I spoke to my parents candidly about why I distanced myself from them. They were clearly ashamed, and I think it's that shame and pride that kept them from reaching out and apologizing years ago. My mum kept her face covered with her hands for most of the call. She was clearly sad. Anyway, I ended up telling them I would never want to see them go destitute, so if they're in poor health or need help with the basic necessities, I'm obviously a call away. Otherwise, things have stayed the same. Next, about my niece. Here's where I disagree hard with most Redditors. She's a 20-something girl who made a tremendously stupid mistake. She took down a pole driving drunk and will pay for that with her physical appearance and health for the rest of her life. It could have been worse, and thankfully, that's all it was. So we had a chat, and as a first step, we paid for her initial scar treatment, some silicone dressings and steroid injections to improve the healing. They can't do the removal surgery until they heal properly and things settle down, so it could be another 6 months to a year before they reassess. She also asked if I can help her find a rehab, as she wants to pay for it herself. She admitted to having a problem, and I won't go into why she started drinking, but I hope none of the haters have the same reason to turn to a bottle. I also told my brother that he's got a year to come up with half of the cost of her surgery. If he doesn't come through, we'll have a conversation, but I think the fire is lit under his ass, and I'm covering half for sure. I'll remind people we aren't prosecutors and judges, so when it comes to moral judgments, we should do what we believe is right. I stand by my choices to keep my family at an arm's length by not letting them fall into poverty if it comes to it, and I support my niece in her attempt to better herself. Thanks to everyone who commented and offered advice, and for Highway Girl 2004, I'll give a separate shout out. Best of luck everyone, and take care. Now in the comments, Manny Mangoes says, good luck to you and your family. I get where you're coming from and don't blame you for keeping your distance with your family. I'm a transplant also, so I get the pressure that comes with that bit that you also have a family of your own to think about. And OP replies, thanks, that pressure is real. Although I didn't see your first post until you posted with this update, I agree with you on this one. You have made a life-changing event, and you can tell who your friends are and not. To be honest, when people hit something in drunk driving, only two things happen. Either they see what they did and turn for help, or they deny it by burying themselves in booze. I fully support you trying to get a start with your parents, not the asshole. And OP replies, thank you for your kindness. It's all good to be honest. I think that if you wouldn't have lent a supporting hand to the girl, she would have had nowhere to go. Because let's face it, everyone screws up. Some more than others, but it's the way you get up which counts the most. Our next post is by user SilentWolf1976, titled, Am I the asshole for not being happy that my adult son is going to be a father? So I, 45 female, have a 23-year-old son who just informed me that he's going to be a father this fall. He's mad at me that I'm not happy to be a grandma. For some background, my son only has a part-time job and his girlfriend doesn't work, and is getting financial help from different friends. He and his girlfriend, she's 19 or 20, don't live together and neither have driver's licenses. My son also has severe ADHD and is on the autism spectrum. He sprung the news on me at midnight via Facebook Messenger. I told him that I hoped they were ready for all that this entails, and that I can't believe he wasn't, at the very least, wearing a condom. The next day, he accused me of not supporting him and not being happy. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit, okay, I see that his diagnoses are basically irrelevant other than the fact that he's unmedicated for his ADHD as he refuses to take his meds. And his reveal of the pregnancy wasn't a, guess what mum, we're having a baby. He actually said, hey mum, so you're not going to be happy but by August or September I'm going to be a dad and I'm sorry for springing this on you. The next day I replied, I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy that you're having a baby right now. I need to come to terms with it first. I will support whatever decisions the two of you make about this, but I can't be happy right now. Maybe in time, but not right now. And edit 2, I cannot help with babysitting or anything like that because they live in Texas and I live in Washington. I also cannot help them financially because I am disabled and live on less than $200 a month. No matter what happens, I will not reject the child, as it's my first grandbaby. Really, the question comes down to, are you the asshole for not being happy that my adult son is going to be a father? I can't blame you for not being happy. You've listed some good reasons as to why you don't agree with it and why it upsets you. So I'm not going to say that you're a dickhead for being angry about this situation. It's perfectly valid that you wouldn't be happy about this, given all of the information about your life and his life and the girlfriend's life that you've shared. So really, I have nothing more to add to that. I agree with you. I'm going to say you're not the asshole for that. But in the end, I don't really know if anyone's the asshole. I'm going to stick with not the asshole anyway. Now in the comments, Kitsumi Cat says, "Not the asshole. Just make sure to tell him that you're not going to be a second mum to this kid." The trifecta of disappointed parents. Are you even ready for a baby? Why didn't you wear a condom? I won't be raising it. The real disappointment in life is when they're proven right again and again. Not the asshole. While I do think parents should be supportive of their kids, supporting awful decisions will only result in the poor kid growing up in misery. Your son already can't pay for himself and his girlfriend. How will he pay for the kid? Sounds like he lives in his own world and doesn't understand what having a kid will be like at all financially. Worst case scenario, which will no doubt happen, is he will demand to move in with you and you will be the mother of the child because the parents don't know what they're doing. And OP replies, "Not gonna happen. I live in a studio and I ain't movin'. My sister, who is much better off than I am financially, has said that she's willing to do an open adoption should they decide to go that route. I honestly hope they do. Not the asshole. I hope they go for that. I would approach it slowly. It would be best for both the child and parents." Question: does your sister have any kids? Yes. She has a 16-year-old girl and 12-year-old twin boys. She and her husband have been looking at adopting recently because she can't have any more of her own. She's 38. I really think you need to champion this idea. It gives them all the good parts of being a parent without fudging the kid up, if, like you suspect, they aren't ready to be parents. The fact your sister is looking to adopt is amazing given the situation. I really can't overstate how much I think this could be the answer. Good luck, and I hope your family figures out the best plan. And now on to the update. Okay, so this all pretty much happened in just the last 2 days, and I only found out a few hours ago. But she lost the baby. She wasn't feeling well, so she went to the doctor. They couldn't find a heartbeat, so they scheduled an ultrasound for today. That's when they confirmed a missed miscarriage, which is when the fetus has died but is not expelled by the body. They are going to do a DNC procedure to remove it on Monday. I was shocked when I found out that they are making her walk around with her dead child inside her for almost a week. My son has quit his job and was going to walk or hitchhike the almost 400 miles to where his girlfriend is currently living with her mother. He made it about halfway when he got the call that she lost the baby. Girlfriend and her uncle are going to pick him up Thursday, I guess. He's broke though, because him and his roommates weren't paying the utilities, except $20 here and $20 there, and were about to get shut off. My son paid $500 to $600 to keep them from being turned off before he left. He and I are on better terms. He even admitted that he was not really ready to be a father when I spoke with him tonight, but that he'd been excited at the thought of seeing his child. I told him that it was a mature way of looking at it. I do love my son, and I would have loved my grandchild, but this poem by Edgar Guest is perfect, even if my grandchild never drew breath. I'll lend you a child. I'm not sure I can read this whole thing, I'll just read the first 2 parts and put the rest up on screen. I'll lend you for a little time a child of mine, he said, for you to love while he lives and mourn for when he's dead. It may be 6 or 7 years or 22 or 3, but will you, till I call him back, take care of him for me? Now, in the comments, Santa Pacha Mama says, "That's very sad. I hope he will be okay and has time to grieve." That was a hard situation. I understand your feelings and I hope everyone is doing well. Wow, so sorry to hear about the loss, though it sounds like all of you have grown from the experience. I can't think of a better tribute to your grandchild than to continue that growth. Very sad for all involved. It may be worth mentioning to your son that emotions and hormones may be running high as they cope with their loss, and that this isn't the time to decide to risk trying again. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that it's her fault she has no pictures of herself? Okay, so I, 54 female, have 5 kids. 3 bio, 2 step. The issue is with my eldest, Clem, who is 26 female. The only pictures I have of Clem are from the day she was born to around her 8th birthday, but none after that. She would ruin any picture she was in by making funny faces, hiding from the camera, making weird signs with her hands, or by messing with other people. It was like this until she was 12, when she started to straight up refuse. We would tell her to come for the family photo, but she would refuse. We never forced her, but would gently encourage her. She even refused school pictures. I have no pictures of birthdays, graduations, prom photos, holidays, or days out with her in them. It broke my heart because I don't have any pictures of her growing up. Family photos look odd because she's not in them. Clem is 26 now and is pregnant with her first child. She brought her significant other over for dinner, and after, we were looking at photo albums. We got to hers, and she saw hers was nearly empty. She asked where all her pictures were, and I told her she refused to have any taken. She got all teary-eyed and told me to stop joking. And at this point, I'm very annoyed. I tell her I'm not joking and that she did this to herself. I told her if she had swallowed her pride and had even one picture, we wouldn't be like this today. She got angry and thought that I'd printed out the ones she'd messed up. She got super upset and went to sit in the car. The next day, today, I got a few texts from family members calling me an asshole for putting her on blast and humiliating her. Am I the asshole? And edit, thank you for all your replies. I do want to clear some things up. Whilst I agree that it was a crappy move not to include goofy or rude pictures, that's not what Clem has an issue with. She's upset that I have no pictures of her from age 12 to 18 to fill the album with, and the few I do have caused extreme reactions from Clem. I can't fill an album with pictures I never took. That's what she's upset about, not the omission of goofy and rude photos. Edit 2, to those of you who are saying who cares about rude gestures or goofy faces, I didn't realize this needed saying, but the family photos weren't just for me. They were for everyone involved. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents on all sides, etc. I can guarantee none of them want an 8-year-old making the eat out gesture in what is meant to be their nice family photo. And edit 3, it's kind of sad to see how many people assume that because a child has anxiety, I berate them whenever they mess around when taking a photo. I never yelled at Clem for making silly faces. I would simply encourage her to stop and smile. But her rude gestures and faces would ramp up. But I guess that's what you expect on this sub. Everyone hates their kids. No, I think everyone just hates everyone on this sub a lot of the time, so you get some interesting perspectives, that's for sure. I don't think you're particularly in the wrong in this situation, but I do think you should have saved those goofy photos even if you didn't print them out. Or if you did print them out, just keep them somewhere that the family isn't going to see. Just so that would have been a memento to you, but obviously we can't go and change the past and you probably can't get those photos back, so what's done is done. I don't really think you're the asshole for this situation, though you could have been nicer about it. Now in the comments, individual ad 9213 says, "Not the asshole, but why not just give her the old negatives that you did not print so that she can see for herself?" And OP replies, "That's a good idea. They're on my computer, so it's not like I deleted all the photos of her. The issue was that she made some rude gestures or poses in many of them, which I'm obviously not comfortable putting on the wall. She does know that she messed up pictures with her gestures and poses, and she obviously can't forget about her aversions to cameras, so I don't know why she was so surprised. I think it would be a nice gesture if you made her a little album of all of them, even if they're ridiculous. It's not that there are no pictures, it is that there are no traditionally nice pictures. They still show her at various ages and show how she was. I was the same way growing up and also have very few. The ones that exist are silly, but I love them." And OP says, "I agree. I'll do that. And if the flipping off gesture bothers you, you can always Photoshop where her hand is. I don't know. I would say leave them untouched. There's a reason the pictures aren't displayed. Leave the rude gestures and poses in place so there is no question why they aren't displayed." I agree on leaving them untouched. It might help drive home that, hey, this is why we didn't print all of these. It wasn't malicious. Info. How is this just now coming up? Are you saying that there are family photos hanging in your home that don't include your daughter? Is she really just looking at this photo album for the first time at 26 years old? And OP replies, "Yes. None of the family photos include my daughter unless they were taken before she turned 8. And yes and no. We would bring them out at Christmas and stuff, but she would always cringe, say she didn't care, and then went to her room. I've told her previously that her album is pretty scarce, but I guess she wasn't always aware to this scale. Thank you for answering my questions, not the arsehole. Well, it seems odd that she didn't somehow know that there were no photos of her after she spent the better part of her childhood refusing to be photographed. Did she ever tell you why she refused to be photographed? And OP replies, no. She never said, and I never pried. She would just disappear when a camera came out. Her wedding is coming up soon, so I wonder how she'll deal with that. Save money on a photographer? If it gets to a point where she can comfortably joke about it, the couple could make photo shoots with the husband posing alone. Not the arsehole. I hate having my picture taken, and I look awkward in all the photos taken of me. But I now, at 22, have realized the consequences of my actions, and I try really hard to get pictures of myself. I used to have long hair to my knees, and it's now above my shoulders. I have no photos of my long hair because I would pin it back or shy away from the camera. You were damned if you did and damned if you didn't in this situation. If you placed a screaming, crying child in front of the camera, she would basically never trust you. And now you have a crying adult asking you why you respected her wishes. And OP replies, that's what's so confusing to me. I could have easily made her take part in every shoot, no matter how she was feeling, panic attacks be damned. But that's awful. That's going to mess her up psychologically. Now that the time has passed and I respected her wishes, I'm the bad guy for not forcing her to take them. You did the right thing. She's emotional about it because she's pregnant and doesn't have anything to show her child and family. And now on to the update. So it's been less than a week because I wanted to make amends ASAP, so I printed off all the pictures and put them in the album. They didn't fill it, but I made a spread on one of the pages that said, "Go make new memories," with a picture of her and her fiancé. I put a lot of work into making it look cute. I called her and asked to talk. She arrived and we had a long discussion. I asked if she had any trauma or self-esteem issues, in a more tactful way, obviously, and she said no. She simply did not like having her photo taken and adopted the behavior of screeching and kicking to avoid photos. She said she had anxiety and that's why she had panic attacks, but that it was mostly because she was gassing herself up, if that makes sense. I knew she had anxiety, but not that she gassed herself up, if that makes sense. By the way, gassing herself up are her words, not mine. Regarding her visit, or the one that kicked things off, she explained that she was embarrassed by her behavior, and even more so when it was exposed to her fiancé. She said she didn't quite realize how much time she had lost, and that it was a very emotional time for her. I apologized for my wording during our spat, and we both made up. I even showed her the post, and we read the comments together. We had quite a laugh at all the armchair psychologists and internet detectives that claimed just because she knew a sexual gesture as a child, she was in danger. Some people were writing borderline fan fiction and rewriting my entire history with my daughter based on one post. Now that's talent. After a little bit of talking, I brought out the album and gave it to her. She was happy, and she seemed to take responsibility over the fact that she refused to have pictures taken. I told her I had printed out the candid ones from when she was 12 to 18, and asked if she wanted them. She said no. She really liked the page with her and her fiancé, which made me super happy. So that's that. You might find this hard to believe, but other than this incident, which we are working through, we have a very good relationship. Now in the comments, AmITheA says, "Sounds like a good resolution, and I hope she's handled her anxiety so she's able to make those new photos she wants." Totally agree. It's a positive and healthy ending, and it's amazing what sitting down and communicating can accomplish. Of course, it also sounds like one of these situations people just needed some time to reflect on that wasn't best handled in the moment. In this case, her embarrassment around her fiancé, which hopefully they can talk about too. Some people just take bad pictures. It's just something about having the camera lens in front of them. They simply cannot remain normal. I think they feel like they need to perform in some way. My mother-in-law is one of them. She just cannot stand and smile for a picture. She'll almost always have her eyes closed or a strange look on her face. She wants to take a good picture, but something just keeps it from happening. My brother is like this. Since he was a kid, he's 38 now, pretty much every time his eyes would be closed. It was pretty much a guarantee. I told my wedding photographer how hard it was, and he said no worries. I only need one with them open and I can fix all the others. And he did a good job. I feel like this is one of the rare cases where a Reddit post makes a difference in someone's life. As someone with anxiety, I get why taking pictures would be something to freak out over. I did think it was weird that she knew the eat out sign at 8 years old, but I taught some kids aged 10 and 11 who did way worse crap than that. I'm really glad it ended well. People always seem to forget that kids can know and not know things. Kids can see someone do that gesture in a movie, understand it got a big reaction, and not know it's an oral sex reference. Or, even if they know what that refers to, not really understand what eating out and oral sex even is. Our next post is by user BigNo1547, titled, "Am I the asshole for refusing to tell my dad that I'm buying a house until after I have moved in?" To start off, I, now 31 female, moved out of my dad's home when I was 14. He had anger issues, and me moving out and refusing to come back was his rock bottom, and he got the help that he needed. I was lucky, and a family member took me in, and I slowly let him back in my life. Back 12 years or so, I was fresh out of high school, but had an awesome paying job and inheritance from my grandparents. I decided I wanted to buy a house near the local college so that I could get a degree and get an even better job. The house I found was 4 beds, 3 baths, and listed for under $100,000, and had just been updated. It was after the 2008 bubble burst, so the deal was really good. I went through the pre-approval process and put in an offer. Before I heard back, I showed my dad the house. I already lived alone, having moved out of the family member's house, but wanted to share my happiness and thought that he would be happy for me. I was horribly wrong. He berated me for over an hour, the highlights being, I was dumb to think I could handle owning a house at 19. I didn't know how to own a house because I was too young. I didn't need such a big place because it was only me. Roommates would destroy the place. Maintenance would just cost too much, and I would eventually end up with a foreclosure on my record. So even though my offer was accepted, I walked away and regretted it deeply for years. I used to periodically check how much the house was worth, but stopped in 2016 because I decided I was obsessing and it was unhealthy, but the house was worth over $400,000. I thought I'd let go of the negative feelings, but it seems house hunting has brought them back up. I can't help thinking how much easier buying our new home would be if I had that house to sell for a down payment. My husband knows the story and supports me not telling my dad, and even agrees. Then I was talking to one of my aunts and told her about the house we now have under contract. I also asked her not to tell my dad. When she asked why, I explained and she told me, well, if your father didn't burn all his bridges and would act like the adult he thinks he is, he would be left out of this kind of thing. Turns out they're not talking right now because he demanded money from her. She offered to pay him to do some basic chores since he doesn't have a job right now, but he claimed he was too busy and just wanted money. I have also heard his side of this since he called me to complain about her. He, however, left out the part where she offered to pay him to help her. While I agree that he's acting like an entitled asshole, I'm wondering if my aunt is agreeing with me because she's mad at him for the way he treated her. She definitely has every right to be mad, especially considering he's sent some really nasty texts. But I also know the fallout from him not finding out about the house until after we've moved in will be unpleasant, to say the least. So I'm now questioning if I might be acting like the asshole. Personally, I feel like if it's the right judgment call in this situation and your gut is telling you to leave him out because of how he's acted in the past and how he's continued to act towards you in the years since that incident 12 years ago, like, you've had a whole lifetime, you've had more than a decade of, being with him in that time. There's a lot of experiences, obviously, you can't recount, and if it's a net negative and you feel like he's just going to bring more negativity into your life, especially during the process of this contract, it's okay to have anxiety about that because it's happened once, it may happen again, who knows? I can't blame you for feeling the way you feel, and I'm going to say not the asshole. Now in the comments, Lumpy Space Stay says, not the asshole. Sounds like your dad never got out of rock bottom in the first place. Just curious, if you were so fearful that, at 31 years old, your father would berate you for buying a house, why are you still in contact with him? And OP replies, I try to keep things to shallow conversation with him and live nearly a day's drive away, so don't have to see him very often. I think maybe I'm just not ready to cut him out completely. There's a small part of me that just wants my dad to love and respect me, but I'm coming to terms with the fact that he probably never will. Grieving the potential of a relationship is the hardest part of cutting someone out of your life. You hang on, hoping one day he will, fill in the blank here, but that day may never come. It's hard to do, but at some point, for your own sake, you will need to let go of hope that he'll meet your needs. Potential and hope is seductive to the people that want it most. It's also hurtful. I hope you're able to find peace with the knowledge that if you haven't gotten it in the last 15 years, you probably will never get it from him. It took me far longer, and his eventual death, to accept mine never really wanted to be the father that I needed and wanted. Monday Night Freak Ball says, not the asshole. You aren't asking him for a dime. He talked you out of an incredible investment. He sounds like he hasn't recovered from his anger issues very much. And OP replies, I suppose it's a relative perspective thing with his anger. He doesn't yell anymore, and he won't get in my face now, but he will nag and insult and belittle to try to get his way. I deal with that by not giving him that in. Yeah, it sounds to me like he learned to control and manipulate in new ways, rather than changing his behavior. I'd seriously recommend getting as much distance as you can. And OP replies, we do live nearly a day's drive apart now, so that helps. But some of the other comments, as well as yours, are starting to make me think I need to change how I've been dealing with him. Physical distance is super helpful. And yeah, I would consider really cutting down the amount of space you give him in your own life. Not the asshole. Yeah, sounds like your dad will be an asshole whether you tell him or not. Your discussion with your aunt really should make this clear to you. If you tell him beforehand, you run the risk of him attempting to ruin it as well. If you and your husband have done your due diligence, then ignore him and move in first. Also, why are you telling your family members? The more people who know that your dad doesn't know this secret, the more likely for it to work its way to him. And yes, your aunt might not tell him directly, but this is the type of info that someone who you had not told to keep it secret might assume that your dad already knew. So your aunt tells Mystery Person A this info, Mystery Person A asks your dad about it because of that, and your dad then finds out. And OP replies, I was stressed when I talked to her and let slip why. That was a mess up on my part. Though I don't think she will tell anyone since I told her I was trying to keep it a secret until after the appraisal comes back. At that point, it'll be a done deal, even if we aren't living there yet. She has in the past been good at keeping secrets until I want others to know. When I was pregnant, she knew I was having a girl months before anyone else and didn't say a word of it to anyone, not even her friends. No worries then. I was just worried that you were setting yourself up for that shocked Fry from Futurama gif. I'm shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked. Good luck working this out. And now on to the update. So we closed on the house late last week and moved in over the weekend. I did not tell him what we were doing until after closing papers were signed and we had keys in hand. Telling my dad went better than I thought it would, but I also didn't word it in a way that would come off as me asking his opinion. I called all my other family members first before calling him. I was just planning to text him, but instead, I called and told him I was sending a text. The text I sent was a link to the house listing. Yes, this means he knows our address, but that at this moment was unavoidable. He asked me when we would be closing and mentioned that he didn't like the location. Before he could say more, I told him we'd just finished signing all the papers and we were taking our first cardboard boxes over. That shut down the conversation, and while he said he was happy for us, I could tell he was unhappy that I either didn't tell him sooner or didn't get his thoughts on the house first. He hung up pretty quickly after that. I'm happy with how I went about this, even if my dad isn't. I know he was going to pick my home apart if I let him, especially since he had already said that he didn't like the area. He's been mostly silent on the house news, but will text or call about anything else. My husband thinks the way he's been shut down is hilarious. He did the same with his mum, who thinks her grown children should always ask her permission to do anything in life as well. Everyone in our home is happy, and those who aren't don't get a say in it anyway because they don't live there. We've also made strategic use of all the rooms so we don't have a guest room of any kind. I also now have a yarn closet instead of yarn boxes shoved in a corner. Now in the comments, I Choose You Snorlax says, "Perfect. You handled the entire situation brilliantly. Congrats on the new home." And OP replies, "Thank you. Awesome outcome, and I wholeheartedly wish you the joy of having a yarn closet. Now that's goals." Glasgow 351 says, "My wife has a rather strained relationship with her father. When we first got married, we bought a small one-bedroom, one-bathroom house. We didn't anticipate having kids, so this arrangement suited us. Her dad griped and complained that it was too small, and took on a dim view about me thinking that this house was all I could afford. Eventually we moved to a larger house, but her dad griped and complained that this one was in a bad part of town. The rooms were laid out weird. Pretty much whatever features it had, he found a reason to complain about it. Now, mind you, he never came over, but whenever he called, he bitched and carried on So a few years later, we had a kid and we eventually moved out to the country and bought a big 4-bedroom farmhouse. We didn't tell anyone that we had done so. Only a few select friends and family knew, and we asked them not to tell her dad. We are waiting for him to decide to come visit us at our old place, only to realize we don't live there anymore. It's been going on for almost 12 years now." And OP replies, "I'm hoping to go very low contact, and know if I do it right, I won't lose all my family in the process. Also, it's hilarious that your father-in-law has no idea you've moved or how long ago. Someday there are going to be some very confused people, and I hope they slam the door in his face." Am I the asshole for not wanting to hide that my mums are gay to my girlfriend's parents? So I'm 17 and started going out with my girlfriend 7 months ago. We were already chatting before school went online, and I asked her out after. So her parents want to meet mine when it's safe to do that and have dinner at their house. I'm cool with that, and my mums are too, but my girlfriend told me that her parents don't know I have 2 mums, and she doesn't want them to know because they're not raging homophobes, but they just don't like that. She just says that it'll make them feel weird and uncomfortable, and asked if only one of my mums could go. I don't know. I just don't see why I gotta lie. Like, if we stayed together, obviously they'll find out, and also that would be mean to ask one of my mums not to go. I've never been embarrassed about it or weird, so I don't see why it even matters. My girlfriend has been pissed at me ever since, and she just tells me to do it since it's not uncomfortable for her parents. Even my friends are saying that it's not a big deal, and it's not like I'll get grounded for asking my mums to do this. I'm caught in the middle here because I don't want to lie about my mums or exclude one of them, but everyone's acting like I'm being an ass for not doing this thing. Now in the comments, not the asshole, and I think you should consider whether this girl really values you if she wants you to hide your family. She's concerned about how her parents would feel, but she doesn't seem to mind hurting yours. Your parents may not ground you for asking, but they are likely to be hurt. It doesn't sound like that's something you want. The fact that his friends told him to just go along with it because it's not like he'll get grounded made me furious. I know they're just teenagers, but even at that age, you should know that the reason you don't do something hurtful isn't because you'll get grounded, it's because someone will get hurt. What a bunch of self-absorbed assholes. Not the asshole. The embarrassment your girlfriend is fearing now will be 1000% more when they find out you lied about it. From her parents' side, you lied about something major and aren't now trustworthy. From your parents' side, annoyance to the girlfriend about her wanting you to lie. From her parents, anger that your girlfriend pulled this crap. And from your parents, sadness because you went along with it. They'll be asking if you're ashamed of them. That is a whole bunch of crazy that can be avoided. And also, the girlfriend's parents will inevitably ask where the father is or what he does. I don't even think it would get to the end of the evening before the lie was found out. And not the asshole. My mum is gay, and the second my partner asked if only one of my mums could attend a dinner, that would have been the end of the relationship. That is never, ever going to be okay with me. She has shown you where she stands on this. You can talk to her, but honestly, it is unlikely to change in my experience. And now on to the update. So we broke up. Yesterday, since it had already been days of us not talking. I listened to your comments and decided to ask how would she feel if I told her only one of her parents could go because my mums are uncomfortable around heterosexual couples. She basically laughed and said that it's not the same thing because that's a normal couple. That kinda got me, and I asked what's not normal about my mums. I think that's when she saw she screwed up with what she'd said. She said she didn't mean it like that and just knows that it would be awkward and weird because her parents don't like that. Then I asked if she would feel like that too, and she didn't say anything. We talked for a while, and she still wasn't getting how this would hurt my mums, asking them to hide who they are. Then it got to where she admitted it would also be embarrassing for her parents, who would know that I have two mums. And yeah, I wasn't going to take that, and I told her that we're done. I'm not going to be with someone who's embarrassed about my mums or doesn't want others to know. And that was it. My friends haven't said anything to me yet, but I think I'm just going to block them out because I don't want to deal with their crap right now. I know I said in my comments I was thinking about asking my mums for advice, but since we're broke up, I'm not going to tell them why. I only told my mums it wasn't working out with her, and so we're done. They don't need to know why because I don't want them to feel like it's their fault and they really liked my girlfriend. This would hurt their feelings knowing that she was feeling that way. It's not my first breakup, but it still really sucks, and I'm feeling sad. It is what it is though. Thanks for everyone's help and for telling me your own experiences. Now in the comments, Gertha and Uber says, as a parent, if my kid came to me and told me this, I would first feel hurt, but I'd quickly get over that and feel so proud that my kid stood up for himself, his beliefs, and his parents. So just know, this Reddit mum is very proud of you. OP, you're an inspiration. You got some true grit, my friend, and are acting well beyond your years. The irony is that homophobes say kids of same-sex couples will get screwed up. Yet who's the more tolerant, kind, and mature kid in this situation? It's certainly not the one raised by a hetero couple. Quote, I don't want them to feel this is their fault. I don't think you need to worry about that. And yeah, they probably would be disappointed in her. Although I suspect they'll be more inclined to blame the sources that she picked up that attitude from, but it might save you from well-meaning attempts on their part to try and fix things. Your call, though. I think they'd be very proud of the way that you've handled this if they knew the full story, and I'm sure there are better relationships ahead for you. And OP replies, one of my mums has a habit of still feeling bad over this kind of stuff. Like, once in middle school, some kids did say stuff to me, and she stopped going to my school events for a while, just so other kids wouldn't make fun of me. We had to convince her to go because I wanted her there. I just don't want them feeling bad. Look, I think it's really great that you're shielding your mums from feeling guilty about the relationship ending. However, once you're in a better place and have gotten over the relationship, and maybe after getting into a different happy relationship, I think it would be good to tell your mums about this if it does come up. It's always nice to hear that someone you cared about stood up for you. Our next post is by user Just a Girl. titled, Am I the asshole for telling my cousin she's committing a sin? So I'll try to keep this straight to the point, but I, female 18, can answer any questions you have. So a year and a half ago, my cousin, 17 female, and aunt, 50 plus, immigrated from Saudi Arabia. They've been living with my family and I in Canada ever since. It's been a real struggle for everyone to adjust, and because they're way more religious than me, they see themselves as more superior. I can't read or write Arabic properly, so they say, "Oh, poor OP, losing her faith and culture because she was born here." Or they comment on the fact that I can't read the Quran in the original language. Everything I do, they comment on. I watch a show, listen to music, dye my hair, wear skinny jeans or anything remotely fun in front of them, and they give their opinion. "Darling, this is haram." "Sweetie, doing this is actually not permitted." "OP, you can't do this unless you want to go to hell." My parents have told me to keep the peace and that they'll soon get their own place. Since the whole lockdown, my cousin has taken up a new hobby, which is painting. She's actually really talented, and I'm surprised she's never painted before. I was watching anime in our shared room when she told me to turn it off. She said she can't concentrate listening to something haram while she painted. I told her that she's also committing a sin by painting a girl. In Islam, drawing and painting any living thing is a sin. This led to a whole fight, and our parents got involved. Basically, they're telling me to apologize because her painting isn't harming anybody. My cousin has stopped talking to me because my aunt made her stop painting. This caused problems between my parents and aunt because they're telling my aunt it's fine if she paints. Now there's tension in our house, and my parents are kind of pissed at me. Am I the asshole for causing this fight? I admit I lost my temper, but after a year and a half of this, I couldn't take it anymore. Also, my cousin was really good at painting, and it was a way for her to get creative. I feel really bad now that she's not allowed. I don't think you're the asshole for causing this fight. You were just using their logic against you, and it seems they don't like having a mirror held up to their face. Like, rules for thee, but not for me, apparently, with this family. Very odd situation that they would start a huge argument and cause so much tension in your house over painting and anime. But if the cousin knew that what she was doing was a sin and is acting so heavy-handed to OP for sinning in her own regard, why is she so upset that she's been banned from painting living things? Like, if you're going to judge so heavily, live up to that, you know? Live up to your standards that you've set. It's just stupid that you'd get pissed off at OP for that. It seems like OP isn't allowed to be pissed off at her for all the shaming and sinning that OP is doing, but when it comes to her, how dare you be pissed off at me for sinning? Very weird. I'm going not the arsehole for this one, OP. I think they deserved it. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. If she's going to have a running commentary about how you're living, she better expect to be held to that same standard. I would tell your family that you'll agree not to comment on what they do as long as they can keep their opinions to themselves. Your parents though. You told them it was an issue. They didn't deal with it, and then when this happened, they did the whole surprised Pikachu face thing. You're not the asshole. If you can't take crap, don't talk crap. Here's the kicker. My cousin has stopped talking to me because my aunt made her stop painting. That right there is called blasphemy and apostasy. It's blasphemy to go against the word of Allah and declare something haram to be harmless when it has been decisively labeled harmful to the self by an infallible being, and questioning the infallibility of Allah in this matter can be taken as abandoning the faith. Plus, calling out everything as haram is haram. It's for Allah to judge. Can't help but notice there was no man traveling with them too. Only hyper-religious when it's convenient, huh? Rules for thee and not for me. A hypocrisy that transcends any border or culture in one shape or form. That's how emotionally immature people think. Rules are for other people. R/entitled people is scary and hilarious at the same time. Emotional immaturity exists on a scale from tantrum toddler to sulky teen, but it's always abusive. Georgia, in Ginny and Georgia, described the patriarchy as death by a million paper cuts. It's a perfect analogy to how it feels to have any kind of relationship, work, family, friend, significant other, with emotionally immature people of any gender. tiny barbs that add up to an ocean of pain. The medium chill method helps us deal with those we can't go no contact with. Not the asshole. Religion is so bizarre, so like, you can't draw living things? Fortunately, there's a loophole. Pulls out knife. Not the asshole. You watching anime and dyeing your hair, etc. wasn't harming anyone either, but your aunt and cousin still found a reason to comment on it and shame you for it. I'm very much of the opinion, live and let live, as long as you're not endangering anyone else. I'm not even sure what the parents expect OP to be able to change. It seems like the aunt has already put a stop to the cousin painting, and even the parents speaking up for the cousin didn't do anything. OP can't unsay it, and the aunt wouldn't change her mind even if they could. And now on to the update. So I just want to address a few questions that some people had. I agree that it's rude to have a loud show on when other people are in the room. However, I was in my room privately watching on a wall-mounted TV. If she asked me to turn it off, I would have switched to my phone with earbuds. But it's the fact that she said it's haram that just tipped me over. After I told her that her painting is a sin too, she threw her paint stuff against the wall. That's why our parents came into the room. Also, to the Muslims who keep saying that my aunt is not practicing true Islam, she literally could say the same about you. You're on Reddit, most likely in a country that doesn't practice Sharia law. However you practice your religion is up to you. But it's not fair for you to say that when my aunt was born and raised in this religion. To those who think that I made this post up to bash Muslims, I'm sorry you think that. It was never my intention to start a religious debate. If you think that drawing pictures of living things is not a sin, you can take it up with your local mosque, sheikh, or whoever you follow. On to the update. The morning after I made my first post, I asked my parents if I could have a conversation about what happened. My aunt insisted on staying, so I just decided to tell them how I felt since they first arrived. I told them I don't appreciate how they made me feel. My life has literally changed, from my actions to appearance. They keep telling me it's time to wear the hijab, which I absolutely refuse to do. They also started making me pray 5 times a day. If I don't pray, my cousin will tattle. We've been sharing a room and it hasn't been the best experience. My parents were not strict religiously until my aunt came. She made my dad feel like he's not raising me properly, which is why he's trying to show my aunt otherwise. He told me that I need to start being more modest and show respect. So I told them this is a hill I was willing to die on, and I was not going to apologize. I'm very fortunate to have money saved up from my job. I told my parents I'm moving out. My friend has been looking for a roommate, and it was the perfect timing. I'm currently staying with her, and hopefully we're putting my name on the lease soon. My parents are understandably upset, but I'm not coming back home until they take my side. My aunt is not in a rush to move out, so I gave my cousin some cash to buy new paint supplies and told her whenever she wants to hang out, we can. Until then, I'm on my own. My friend has been very supportive, and I'm so lucky to have her. Again, thank you everyone for your kind words. I hope everyone gets to live the life they deserve and have happiness every day. Now in the comments, those were the most mature actions you could have taken. You should be proud of yourself. And good luck, OP. Just make sure to move that money to a bank your parents are not members of. If they're getting this extreme, they may try to take that money from you and to force you back. I also recommend getting your passport and any documents you can from them. It's not unheard of for parents to attempt to marry off daughters in Saudi or other nations. I would go no contact until they either apologize or go back to normal and have the aunt find a place to go, because it won't get better, and religious extremists don't usually let children like you go from the religion and culture they have. This is my exact fear to leaving. My mum is an absolute psychopath nowadays, and my dad is extremely submissive to it, so he just does whatever she asks. And I'm so close to just leaving, but my bank is tied to theirs, and I get a strong feeling they would do something to force me back or make my life a living hell even when I'm away. Wearing the hijab should be your choice, not hers. Good for you for getting out of that toxic environment, and best of luck to you. You're 18 years old. The ship sailed long ago for your dad to raise you properly. He doesn't get to take 18 years off his religion and then try to force it on you when he changes his mind because of pressure from his sister. For the record, the quotes are because I think your parents clearly did raise you right because your solution is very mature. Hopefully they realize the same thing. Am I the asshole telling the truth in the wedding toast? So I'm a 30-year-old male, and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know that I was limited in what I could contribute financially. But I did tell him that I would try my best. So, I went to the bachelor party in Maine, I rented the tux, and I paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't give it to them. His now wife, then fiancé, texted me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. I had a full-time job and am redoing some rooms in my house, so I'm busy. She texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. 2. She was not going to order special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. 3. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts, and programs, so I had to help him with those things, according to her. She also said to get ready to help with thank you notes after the wedding. 4. She said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. I don't even know what that means. 5. She had to read and approve my speech before the rehearsal dinner, and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. She told me to make things up if I had to. I was also not allowed to include anyone but the two of them, and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. And 6, her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. I was just so aggravated. I spoke to my friend to see if he could reason with her, and he told me to just play ball on this one. It's her day and to cut him a break, because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I was annoyed, but I calmed down. The day of the wedding, all the bride and my buddy does is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for a drink, and the bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I've ruined her daughter's day enough, which was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash, and in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished them the best, and I told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. Am I the asshole? That one right there was a violation. I personally don't condone those actions. I can see why you did it, but I personally say that was a dick move for speaking your mind and speaking your truth at a speech that you didn't need to speak your mind and truth at, especially after you've been attacked by these two beforehand. I wouldn't blame them for completely cutting you out of their life. I feel like you should expect that one to come towards you, and I also think they were dicks for the way they treated you and with those 6 rules that they laid down before. Personally, everyone sucks here in this situation. That's very wild. I can't believe you did that. Claps for you, I guess. Everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here, and here's why. 1. The groom knew he was marrying a piece of work, and instead of protecting his interests, he co-signed, aided, and abetted his wife's atrocious behavior. 2. His wife sucks for trying to regulate your wife's body, for allowing her insecurities to cloud her judgments, and being the very definition of a bridezilla. And 3. You for not taking the high road and waiting until the very last minute to defend your wife's honor. Look, dude. You were totally justified, but you also had ample opportunity to jump off the crazy train before it got this far. Being a good friend means having the comfortability and latitude to say no when your friends are off the rails. You waited until the last minute, and you let your emotions get the better of you. Your wife deserves better from these people and from you in this moment. P.S. Get new friends. These people suck hardcore. Lots of Cash says, everyone sucks here, but applauding OP quietly so not to draw attention to the fact that I'm pregnant. I don't want to ruin his post. Not very cool of you to be pregnant during this post. I like that you didn't even think of OP's post when you decided to become pregnant. Seriously, the audacity. I think you're missing a piece here. From what I gather, the dude was trying to go along with all of this unbelievable bullcrap because he was trying to be a supportive friend. Then he reached that point of, okay, you know what? Screw this actually. We've all reached that point somewhere in our lives and made asses of ourselves. But this guy was 100% justified in burning his friendship to the ground by the point of the toast. And he salted the frickin' earth in the process. I'm sorry, but I gotta respect that. Yes, he reached that point, but what he did impacted everyone else that was present. He wasn't just being petty to the bride and groom, he was being an asshole and making a scene that impacts everyone present. Everyone sucks here. But you know that everyone there knew how the bride was acting, because I guarantee that she wasn't just treating him that way. No way. No, you don't. At my wedding, we had plenty of friends and family that had no involvement in the planning. Even grandparents aren't that involved. They show up for a nice wedding, and some drunk groomsman makes a scene and upsets the bride and groom. Everyone sucks here, but listen. You're my hero. Also be aware that your friendship might be over, if not for any other reason than the way the new wifey will make it so. His buddy's wife was never going to let him have friends that she didn't pick and approve of anyhow. That's what I feel like. If the groom's view is, I now have to put up with this bullcrap for the rest of my life, and he let his friends get treated like crap and won't stand up to his wife, his social life is dead. It's gonna be kids, couple activities with vetoed acquaintances, and spending weekends at the in-laws. He may get one night a month to see his buddies, but not at their house since she hates them all. He lost his friend the moment this dude proposed. From the title alone, I was prepared to think you were the asshole. Through the bridezilla bits, I was thinking, yikes, they're the asshole, and by the time I got to the end, I was a firm everyone sucks here. I don't blame you for not giving the card. They treated you horribly and did not deserve the generous gift you were prepared to give. But I think being honest in the speech took it too far. You would have been better off just cutting it super short. Words can't even describe these two, so let's raise a glass. The end. I don't think your speech was too much because of how it impacted them, but because of their families. Maybe their families suck as much as them. They had to get their ridiculous entitlement somewhere. But I'd be horrified to witness a best man speech like you described if I were a guest at a wedding. Our next post is by user AffectionateCry5126, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my dad and his wife their marriage wasn't a deal my siblings and I signed up for? My dad married his wife 5 years ago. I, 16 female, was 11, my brother was 14, and my sister was 15. His wife had an 8 and 6-year-old at the time, who were now 11 and 13. The marriage was tough on my siblings and me. Our dad's wife came in day one of living together, and made things much more strict, with our dad's backup obviously. But she was always on us, always picking apart the stuff we did. We'd always had the chores, but usually my brother and I woke up early and did ours before school, while my sister did hers in the hour that she was home without anyone else. That was stopped, and we were told all kids had to do chores together so the big kids could help the little ones. My sister said it wasn't our job to help her kids. Dad's wife said they were our siblings now, which my sister and brother loudly declared they would not, and it became a fight. We went from being able to eat with our friends after school or at friends' houses to needing to be home for family dinners. We complained to our dad, but he said that it was important to his wife that we all come together. Stuff like that was common, and she and my brother and sister fought a lot because they did not treat her kids even close to how they treated me, and it bothered her. With me, it was less of a fight because I was the baby of our sibling group, and I think she thought that I would eventually take the role over. When I didn't, and my siblings made no effort to be her kids' big siblings, she and my dad dragged me to family therapy, and we have been going for a while now. What sparked the interest in therapy was my sister ended up moving into a place, and she had a room just for me there and another just for my brother, and no special space for our step-siblings. So anyway, Therapy has been going on for months now, and it's basically been a lot of my dad and his wife talking and asking why I don't call her stepmom or her kids' siblings, and then the therapist finally decided to take control recently and start going into more stuff. And he asked why it bothered them so much that we weren't super close, and my dad's wife said her kids came as a part of the package deal and we all knew the deal when they got married. I jumped in and said my siblings and I never signed up for their marriage, that we were part of no deal, and it's not fair to hold us to any deal made because we didn't make it. My dad blew up at me in the session, and the therapist was trying to defuse the situation. The last 4 sessions, my dad and his wife have dominated the sessions over what I'd said. They also put me under house arrest for being rude and selfish with saying what I did. It pisses me off, but part of me wonders if I was wrong to say it. Am I the asshole? I think you were just being manipulated by your dad and his new partner, and your dad does not want to support you at all. I think it's very clear through his words and his actions. He only cares about pleasing her and keeping the peace with her. And she's wanting to dominate, she's wanting to get her way, she will do anything and harm you guys to get that way. There's no point in negotiating with terrorists because it's not going to get you anywhere. So I'm going to give you a pass for that. I'm going to say not the asshole. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Tell the therapist that you've been grounded for sharing your feelings in a therapy session. And OP replies, I don't think there's much he can do at this point. He basically is just another body in the room during these sessions when my dad and his wife dominate. It's literally his job to handle this. Could you just contact him outside of the sessions, or do you feel unsafe doing that? Also, are her kids there, or just you? And OP replies, just me. It's his job, but yeah, I could call. Your parents are being dishonest about the therapy. They wanted to fix you instead of learning what is going wrong with the family dynamic. Tell the therapist you're being punished for things you say in therapy. I hate when I see parents using family therapy as a tool to get their child to do what they want. That isn't what therapy is for. Therapy isn't for manipulating your child into accepting circumstances they never agreed to. It is for exploring your relationships and attempting to make the family dynamic healthier and more open and honest. I was lucky enough to have a wonderful stepfather that I loved long after he and my mum divorced. But he was not entitled to that love or relationship. He earned it. Not the asshole. Move in with your sister if you can. They will never change. They are literally forcing you to therapy to fix the mess they made. They will always blame you guys. If I were OP, I'd do it. I'd call the police on emergency and speak with an officer and say, I'm 16 and moving in with my sister. My dad might throw a fit, and I know legally you guys can't do anything since it's a civil matter. I just wanted to get an idea what would happen if he does call you guys so I can be prepared. The few times I've had to preemptively call, they've even given me a way to teach the notes for calls so I could tell the officer to check the notes, and then evening always goes my way. If OP is in the US and had a certain accent, a black accent or an accent from Africa, then they should first do research on whether the police have a record of brutality in that area. If that's the case, then OP should have a friend call and ask these questions, so OP isn't lied to by a racist officer in order to cause more trouble in OP's family. And Miss Chick says, not the asshole. To hold you in contempt for what you said during therapy, where you're supposed to feel safe and heard, is disgusting parenting. You were absolutely right. You guys didn't sign up for this package deal. And for them to hold you accountable for their choices is messed up. I hope that the therapist gains control of the sessions, and feel free to tell them that you're being punished at home for what's said in sessions. Our next post is by user Darth Zenic, titled, Am I the asshole for suggesting that my wife doesn't wear certain leggings out? Backstory. We live in a low-income area, and there are lots of skeevy dudes that hang out in the neighborhood by the liquor store and by the bus stop. My wife, 26 years old, works from home and likes to go for a daily walk to the convenience store a few blocks away for coffee and breakfast. She's always telling me how local guys give her lewd looks and sometimes make creepy comments while she's out walking. Yesterday, she called me from the convenience store and asked that I pick her up as there was a creep driving slowly by her while staring. I work from home, so I didn't have an issue taking the 2-minute drive to get her. She asks me to do this roughly once a week. When she gets into the car, she tells me about the lewd looks that she gets, and I suggested that she not wear her TikTok leggings out in our neighborhood due to the rude guys that are always out. For those unaware, the TikTok leggings are the butt scrunch leggings designed to really show off one's butt by scrunching up in the back and going right up under the butt crack. She almost instantly says that it's a misogynistic thing to say and that she should be able to wear whatever she likes. I agree with her that she should be able to wear whatever she likes, but by wearing them, she's attracting unwanted attention. I tell her that the guys are pigs and that they are assholes for making her feel this way. She tells me that she'd get hit on regardless of what she was wearing, so she might as well be comfortable. Anyways, it turned into an argument about how I was saying misogynistic things and how she was trying to educate me about how I sounded. I felt hurt because I felt as though my suggestion was meant to prevent her from feeling creeped out by the guys around us. Granted, I never said anything to the effect of me not allowing her to do it. I was genuinely trying to suggest an alternative to what she was wearing so that maybe she would garner less attention. She said that my opinion on the matter was not wanted and that I would never know what it was like to be a woman. Am I the asshole here? Now in the comments, Terra says, "You're the asshole because she is right. It does not matter what she wears. Women get catcalled and stared at and creeped on when they wear sweatpants and a t-shirt, when they wear a skirt and heels, when they wear jeans and sneakers, etc. The leggings don't matter. I'm so sick of people victim blaming and saying she shouldn't have worn that. For frick's sake, Muslim women who follow tradition face the same problem, and they're covered head to toe." I see a lot of comments saying that you're right, but those people clearly either are not women or have been lucky enough to avoid creeps. You can wear anything in the world and a creep will still creep on you. I got leered at as a 10-year-old. Creeps will creep no matter what. Some of the creepiest crap has happened when I look the worst. Like, really, dude? I'm wearing my gross gym clothes and my hair is stuck to the side of my face with sweat. What that thing do? It goes home and takes a shower. I can't believe people are giving OP some benefit of the doubt. He's a grown man. He should know what women go through by now. I think people who really think outfits are a big driver of this kind of behavior are just a dangerous mix of fixes and people unable to relate to how other people think. OP is obviously attracted to his wife, and I'm sure he thinks she looks hot in that outfit, so from his thought process, he's probably thinking, fix the problem by not looking so hot. Men who do crap like this don't think like OP. You're the asshole. If she was literally wearing a Snuggie, she'd be getting the same reactions from those guys. It's not the leggings. I think it's sweet. Is that even the right word? That OP thinks leggings or not will make the difference, but only in an "aw, shoulder pat" kind of way. There are so many people, especially women in this comment section, sharing stories about being harassed since they were literal children. And the sad reality is that a lot of men just don't understand what it's like to experience that. I really hope Obi takes this opportunity to educate himself on the reality of being a woman today. It doesn't have to be from his wife either, if she's not interested in talking about it. The internet is filled with research and statistics and personal accounts. There's no excuse to remain blind to the fact of the matter. And Opie gives us a little update down in the comments. First of all, thank you all for sharing your stories. I've read each and every comment and I've put a lot of thought in this. To be perfectly honest, I'm surprised with the through line within most of the history in these posts. It is evident that there is a clear history of systemic misogyny in our culture, and I understand how I play a part of it. I see now that my comment was unnecessary and timed awfully. My wife was afraid, and I should have given her more support than I did at the time. I had a conversation with my wife tonight and I apologized to her for my comments and my behavior. I did show her this post, and she spent some time reading the comments. She agreed that a non-biased third party, thank you all, was a good way to help me learn. I can be fairly stubborn, and these comments were eye-opening. I want to thank everyone for being so passionate about this. I love my wife a ton and want to be a good partner to her, and I will take the advice that you've shared with me and work on being a better ally, a better husband, and a better human. Am I the asshole for bringing my own food to my mother-in-law's house? So my mother-in-law hosted a barbecue at her house last weekend. I have several serious food intolerances, as well as food allergies, so I have to be very careful when I'm eating food that I've not prepared or if I do not know what is in it. My mother-in-law is very aware of my food allergies and intolerances: lactose intolerant, egg allergy, shellfish allergy, strawberry allergy, and has been for the past 22 years that we've been married. My mother-in-law is one of those people who believes that you eat what is served or you do not eat, and that food allergies is something that people make up in their heads. I asked her what she was serving at the barbecue to see if there would 1. Be anything I could eat, and 2. If I needed to be concerned about anything she was serving. Most of everything that she was planning to serve contained something that I could not eat. This is not the first time that she has served food that I was unable to eat. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, the only thing I could eat were the dinner rolls and the salad. She got super offended that I did not eat and called me overdramatic. If I eat before I go and do not eat anything, she guilt trips me and tries to get me to eat. So this time, I discussed with my spouse the possibility of me bringing my own food to my mother-in-law's house. They agreed with me that it was a good idea, but warned me not to let mother-in-law see it. I brought 2 small containers to the barbecue in a cooler bag and put it under my chair. When it was time to eat, I quietly served myself from the containers and put my plate on the table. When my mother-in-law saw that I was eating food that was different than everyone else, she immediately got upset and told me how rude I was to bring food. I explained to her that nothing she was serving was food that I could safely eat, and she went on about how I always have to make myself the center of attention. My spouse told mother-in-law that she has known for almost 2 decades that I had food allergies, so it should not shock her that after years of being unable to eat at family gatherings, I would bring my own food. Father-in-law then got up and told us both we were being rude and disrespectful to mother-in-law, as she had spent tons of money and time preparing for this barbecue. Spouse grabbed our things and we left after a few more choice words with their parents. Our phones have been blowing up non-stop, some people agreeing that mother-in-law was overreacting. Others think I should have eaten what I could out of politeness or eaten before I came. I'm really torn and upset. I did not mean to cause drama, and I'm hurt that spouse is arguing with their parents. I did not mean to offend mother-in-law, and certainly not ruin a barbecue. Am I the asshole for bringing my own food to mother-in-law's barbecue? This is just a ridiculous situation, and at this point, I think your mother-in-law is just doing this out of spite for you. It seems plainly obvious to me that it's purely out of spite and nothing else. So I'd say morally in this situation, you're in the right for bringing your own food, even if it was, a little rude to be eating something different. She knows you can't eat it, and she doesn't provide for you. Therefore, you bring your own so you can still be included, and I think that puts you morally in the right for this situation. So I'm going to say not the asshole. Now in the comments, Effective Put 7604 says, not the asshole. There's no winning here. Your mother-in-law knows she can make you seriously sick with the food she serves, and has known for 2 decades. She complains when you eat before you come. She complains when you only eat what's there that you can eat, and she complains when you bring your own food. And I'm sure she'll absolutely make a martyr of herself if you opt not to turn up at these family events. You've got a good spouse there. It seems like well past time for a long talk about just how much contact y'all should have, individually and collectively, with your in-laws. In no universe is the spouse good. Yes, they backed OP up, but they should have shut their mother's behavior down like 20 years ago. They have quietly been allowing this to go on for 2 decades. Their mother putting their spouse's health in danger. Spouse is hardcore the asshole. They're an asshole dressed in sheep's clothing. Vampire Bear says, not the asshole. She would have been offended no matter what. If she invites you and has known about your allergies, she needs to provide something you can eat, or shut the hell up when you don't eat or bring something that you can eat. It's not hard to be a considerate host, she's just doing it on purpose. Agreed. The other options the people are suggesting OP did try, and she still complained. She is in a no-win situation here, just stop going OP. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.